No, I know.
No sense. The highway.
Especially
Living
the
through chemistry.
I'm looking.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
it must.
Do they have any brain cells left?
Reservation element there for sure.
Robert Plant's doing really good. He sings with Alison Krauss a lot.
Yeah, I like those guys together. Yeah. Yeah,
He's in the
Hey,
70s.
Nancy.
yeah.
Sounds good
He's
too.
young by comparison.
Wednesday morning.
That's,
You know? Is there your breakfast?
operating cost for what, 20 years?
Or do we meet after Russell and Jack? Do we meet there and then go?
That's the kind of that I look at, I'm like, come on.
I'm gonna meet-
So, yeah, I will, once we have all the information, all the new numbers.
This.
What I want is. Did they do? So that whole area.
I'll have to
Oh, yeah.
Was.
Otherwise, like
I
lunchtime.
think the lake itself, I think they
Yeah,
deflected it. It's
so-
over on the fourth.
What
end.
time do you
I
guys
can
meet
show you
there?
the outline.
No, it's fine. I was just curious if they were picking everybody out. It sounded like.
They did out of the camp.
I can just follow.
That's the footprint.
Oh, and then follow up
Lake.
to. Where's that at?
This is east of the lake.
I know where it's at.
Starting down
I
here.
may or may not have been there.
Was that up?
This is the Y right here. but there's that Mississippi.
I may or may not have been there before. Oh, yeah. I've never been there.
No, it's
But I-
there.
It's not for a lawsuit.
Yeah. I know what that was. Yeah.
So-
What time are they meeting there then?
So you said they bring it up
7:45 night.
Trying to provide
What does that consist
safe
of?
space, not only for people.
That might be in the evening.
Well, they get first
There.
dibs on everything.
Yeah.
Whatever.
There could be, or you.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but more this juggles in the air.
That's doing work in Jack.
But also I think most of this, things like access now. Decision on.
Or Chinooks on the airport one time.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping that I can make it.
I thought just close the airport and just
Yeah.
use the runway to.
Oh, yeah. I'll be
Hey,
there.
good evening. Welcome to the regular city council meeting for the city of Ellensburg. On August 5th, 2024, we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilmember Bojan.
Did you say Bosha?
Yep.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, call the roll.
Boshaw,
Here.
Goodlow,
Here.
Lowquist,
Here.
Elliott,
Here.
Miller.
Here.
Palmer,
Here.
Thompson.
No proclamations, awards, or recognitions. We move to item 4, approval of the agenda.
I will move for approval of the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion second to approve the agenda as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I too will vote aye opposed. That motion passes. Item 5, consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Seconded.
Motion second to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. I too will vote aye opposed. That motion passes. We are to page 70, item 6A, board and commission appointments. And there will be an opportunity for public comment.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We have before you recommendations from 2 commissions to appoint members. The first is Jeff Watson as a reappointment to the Landmarks and Design Commission, and Vicky Sanuto as well as a new member to the Landmarks and Design Commission, and Serena Turney to the DEI Commission. And I believe Serena is here tonight, and I'm not sure about Vicky. Oh, yes, she is here
Vicky,
too.
Vicky will go first. If you would like to come up and speak to the vast public audience and the council, you are welcome to. It probably won't change things. Okay, all right. And Serena, did you want to approach? And just introduce yourself and then.
Hi, my name is Serena. I just graduated with my degree in public health from CWU, and I'm really excited to be making a difference in my community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, are either of these different or do we do these all as 3? Okay, council, a motion?
Motion for the approval of all the elected or all the appointed candidates for the proposed commissions.
Second.
We have a motion second to reappoint Jeff Watson to the Landmarks and Design Commission, Vicky Sanuto to the Landmarks and Design Commission, and Serena Turney to the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Commission. Oh, I forgot to take public comment. Is there any public comment? Okay, my bad. I will, I don't need to repeat it. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I too will vote aye. Opposed? That motion passes. Sorry about that. Okay, we move to item 7, which is citizen comment on non-agenda items. While we're getting the roster here, I do have somebody online, so I'm going to just address this. Is there a Helen Hoffman online?
They're indicating no.
Nope. Okay, never mind. Okay, Mr. Coleman, and got my script here. Okay, sorry. So we don't have anybody attending Zoom. Each speaker's comment limited to 3 minutes. Total time for the agenda is 30 minutes unless extended by a vote of the council. Don't identify yourself as a candidate for elective office or make any statements which assist or discuss the campaign of a candidate for elective office or discuss or campaign for or against a ballot proposition, unless we were doing the same or not. Speakers providing comment on non-agenda issues may only address the council on matters identified in their registration form and which must concern city business or over which the city council has control. When recognized to speak, name whether you live in the city of Ellensburg, Kittitas County, or elsewhere, whether you're representing yourself or others, and the topic on which you wish to speak before making your comments. Please don't engage in any conduct that disrupts, disturbs, or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of the meeting. And our rules indicate that we will not take action, but we may provide some guidance. Thank you.
Hello, William Coleman, resident of Kittitas. I just want to give you a heads up that a couple of weeks ago, Microsoft dumped its DEI department because it's not good for business. You should do the same. Thank you.
Okay. Is there anybody else in the audience who wishes to approach? And I know we have a couple of online speakers, but I believe they're about topics that come up on the agenda here shortly. So I did not see you, sorry.
Teresa Plew, 140 Woodhouse Loop, Ellensburg, Washington. I just wanted to give an input on the minutes because when I read over the minutes afterwards, it seems like some of them might have comment about if a person spoke for or against certain things, but there's not enough detail in it for people to read them later to really see and get a feel for what the people who participate in government are inputting. Their public opinion is not in those minutes. I don't know if the purpose of those minutes is not for that, but sometimes it was in there. Last minutes, there was one person that I believe it was Erin Sinclair, and that was stated what her opinion was, but then the other people, there was just nothing. It was just really vague, and it almost seemed like it was somewhat maybe biased, but I'm not sure. But Aaron, actually, I don't know. Anyways, it's just something to maybe think about being consistent with and actually put in there a little bit of the person's opinion. I am going to be brave enough to speak about something that another person spoke of at the consent agenda. And I was supposed to reach out to a city council member, and I went to coffee with the council members. We just ran out of time because we were talking about the sleep center a lot and the winter center. That is that on that wellness report, when I read that report, and I couldn't be at the city council meeting the last time because I was in an overnight sleep center for a study, but there was an incident that 4th of July and Independence Day. Earlier in the day, I would stand with veterans who stood for our local law enforcement, and we would always be on the street corner when the other people, the activists from CWU under Todd Milden, I believe, was with them, and Sarah Romney was there. And I would always go there and stand with the elderly veterans because I felt like I was younger and I could actually like maybe be their bodyguard if they needed, but I sure don't feel that way this year, you guys. And it was very alarming. The perspective that I have of this town and what happened in that year, that I know that you questioned and they interviewed select people for this wellness report, but it was different there in the street corner. I would go there with the veterans in the middle of the day. They were pasting things on the street in oil base, and another citizen and I went out there, tried to clean it up. I would go to the garbage cans, there would be chalking on there, and there were threats to local law enforcement and their families. I've still got photos in my archives of it if anybody in the city council wants to look at it. So I just feel cheated because I wasn't represented in the wellness report. And someone came after me with Sergeant Romney with an AK-15, I think it was. I thought it was a prop gun. It was real. A citizen
Ms. Plouffe?
reported it.
Thank you.
It was traumatizing.
So do you want to address the minutes thing and the fact that there's video and audio recordings that are available?
Yes, we can do that. So we typically do an action style minute, which is, and generally it's about who and what, and not necessarily the detailed opinion. And they're not summary minutes, they're different styles. We do have our council meetings online and they're actually indexed to the item on the agenda. So you can actually watch the meeting as well. So that's another record and probably even an even more accurate record of what happens in people's testimony at council meetings. So encourage folks, if you're looking for the records to go online, we can help you if you need to by contacting the city clerk's office or the city manager's office.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? Okay, we'll move on to item 8A, page 81. This is a public hearing, which is a legislative hearing that potentially adopts a resolution that would amend the city's 6-year transportation improvement plan, 2024 to 2029, and it would potentially revise some grant-funded projects. There will be an opportunity for public comment. I have a 2-page script to read. Excuse me. The purpose of this legislative hearing is for City Council to consider the adoption of Resolution 2024-20, which amends the Resolution 2023-14, which was the city's 6-year transportation improvement plan, which will now be for 2024 to 2029. Public hearing is now open, and we ask for your cooperation in the following procedure. Everyone will be given an opportunity to be heard. City clerk will be making a recording of the proceedings. If you wish to participate in the hearing, you must raise your virtual hand on the Zoom meeting screen or press *9. If you're connected by phone, wait till I recognize you, and you should then begin by stating your name and address and indicate whether you're speaking for yourself, individually, or spokesperson for a certain group or both. Speak slowly and clearly. Only one person is allowed to speak at a time. Testimony must address the matter under consideration in this hearing. Any questions of staff are to be directed through council. Each person will have the opportunity to address council for an initial period not to exceed 5 minutes. If more time is needed, it will be made available after everyone has had an opportunity to speak. And before we hear from the audience, is there a staff report?
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Josh Mattson. I'm with the Ellensburg Public Works and Utilities Department. In June of 2023, last year, Council approved the city's current 2024 to 2029 6-year transportation improvement plan. It's also known as the TIP. The resolution before you tonight will amend that plan to reflect a new grant awarded for the Water Street Overlay Project, revising 2 projects on the current plan. Amendments to the plan can be completed at any time and need to be submitted to the Washington State Department of Transportation before the grant funds can be obligated for this project. So the first update to the TIP will revise the name of project number 24 on the list to Water Street Overlay from Main Street to Bender Road. This will lengthen the extent of the project to include the northern portion of Water Street past University Way. The funding status on that project will be changed to secured, and the TIP budget will be updated to include the $3 million received in federal grant funds and a $476,000 local match for the project. Design of the project will begin shortly with construction plan for next year in 2025. It would be a grind and overlay of Water Street with new asphalt and improvement to ADA curb ramps throughout the corridor. The second revision will delete tip project number 33, which is the Water Street overlay north of University Way. This project is being incorporated into tip project number 24. With that, staff is recommending that council adopt the resolution amending the 2024 to 2029 six-year transportation improvement plan. Staff also recommends council authorize the mayor and staff to execute any and all necessary grant paperwork associated with the updated project. Thank you.
So the floor is open to testimony from the public. Each person has the opportunity to address council for an initial period not to exceed 5 minutes. If you need more time, it will be made available after everybody has had an opportunity to speak. Does anybody in the audience present want to speak to this subject? Anybody online? Nope. Okay. Does staff have anything to add?
Nothing, sir.
Sorry. Are there any questions? Are there any persons in the audience who'd like to add non-repetitive information in this matter? Council, do you have any questions of staff or the public?
I have a question.
Okay.
So, Josh, water and Maine are parallel to each other. So by Maine, you mean where the Manitoba
Correct.
goes around by
Sure.
Fred Meyer?
Correct. Very short stretch of Manitoba is included with the project. And so the name is because that's how DOT named it when we got the project back.
Okay.
So we have to follow the naming convention exactly.
Okay.
Or to get the funds obligated. Yes. So short section of Manitoba and then Water Street from Manitoba all the way north to Bender Road.
Connecting to Maine.
Correct.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, the public testimony portion of this hearing is now closed. Council may begin its discussion and deliberation of this matter.
Mr. Mayor, I move adoption of resolution 2024-20, amending the city of Ellensburg 6-year TIP for 2024 to 29. And authorize the mayor and staff to execute any and all washed out grant paperwork associated with the project.
Seconded.
So we have a motion second for resolution 2024-20 plus authorizing the staff and mayor to execute any of the required paperwork. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Hi.
I too will vote aye. Opposed? That motion passes. Item 8B, page 86. This is an open record quasi judicial hearing. This one gets 3 pages. All right. Okay. The purpose of this open record quasi judicial hearing is for city council to consider pertinent facts, applicable law, and make a final decision on adoption of resolution 2024-21, which would approve the Katy Meadows Long Plat alteration, which is file number P24040. Public hearing is now open. Ask for your cooperation. Everybody will be given the opportunity to be heard. City clerk is making a recording of the proceedings. I will first recognize requests to testify from anyone attending this hearing in person, followed by any persons attending remotely via Zoom. Again, if you wish to participate via Zoom, raise your virtual hand on the Zoom meeting screen or press *9 if you are connected by telephone only, and wait till I have recognized your request. When you're invited to speak, begin by stating your name and address, indicate whether you're speaking for yourself individually, spokesperson for a certain group, or both. Speak slowly and clearly. Only one person is allowed to speak at a time. Any questions of staff are to be directed through council. The council seeks to conduct this hearing in a manner that is fair and unbiased in both appearance and fact. Therefore, I would ask the council members the following questions. Does any member of the council have an interest in this property or issue?
No.
No.
I too answer no. Will any member of the council obtain any financial benefit or suffer financial loss as a result of the outcome of this hearing?
No.
My answer is no as well. Does any council member believe he or she cannot hear and consider this matter in a fair and objective manner?
No.
No.
I too will vote no. Has any council member engaged in communication with opponents or proponents regarding this issue outside of a public hearing process?
No.
No.
I say no as well, and we would have to disclose that if we did, but we said no. Is any council member employed by a party which has direct or indirect interest in any property, the value of which will be affected by the decision in this matter?
No.
I don't vote no, I say no. Will any council member be employed by a party for which the potential employment may be a result of this decision?
No.
No. Is any council member a member of or involved in such associations or organizations, whether formal or informal, which takes a position on this application?
No.
No. Is any member or council member's family or person with which they have a social relationship an advocate or witness who has provided oral or written testimony or argument in this matter, or will provide oral or written testimony or argument in this matter?
No.
No. Is there anyone present at this time who objects to my participation or any council member's participations in these proceedings on appearance of fairness grounds?
No.
Well, that's not us. That's the audience.
I got in a rhythm.
And there's nobody online that objects? Okay. Okay. So before we hear from the audience, is there a staff report to be presented?
Good evening, Mayor Elliott and council members. Shannon Johnson with Community Development Department. I appreciate the opportunity to present to you this application submitted by Tyler Glahn of Crytel Enterprises Incorporated, property owner for a Type 4 major plat alteration. The Katy Meadows Phase 2 alteration is located in the RS zone residential suburban on assessor's parcel ID numbers 781133 and 963361 on the south side of Bender Road, just east of the Bender-Hannah Road intersection in the city of Ellensburg, as shown in Exhibit 1. The applicant owns all of the affected lots. This particular alteration adds additional lots and alters the preliminary proposed road system and lot design configuration. Therefore, it warrants a major alteration review and decision by council after an open record public hearing. The request to increase the number of lots and change the road system on a plat approved by council requires approval through the plat alteration process. City Council approved the resolution 2022-11 for the preliminary plat approval of the Katy Meadows Phase 2 plat on May 2nd, 2022, as shown in Exhibit 3. The applicant has recently purchased an adjacent parcel to add approximately 0.70 acres of land to alter and increase the size of the original plat, which will result in a more cohesive road system and creation of 14 additional lots for single-family housing within the currently undeveloped, unrecorded, preliminarily approved Phase 2 portion of the plat. The City Council approved the findings of fact and decision for the original Katy Meadows preliminary plat on May 2nd, 2022, Exhibit 3. The required pre-application meeting for the alteration was conducted on July 29th, 2024. The Public Works and Utilities Departments and Fire Marshal have worked diligently with the applicant in order to approve the alteration while ensuring that the existing utility, water, and sewer relocation regulations and guidelines can be met. A combined legal notice of application and notice of the public hearing were published in the Daily Record on August 5th, 2024, and notices were also mailed to all property owners within 300 feet. No comments have been received. A revised mitigated determination of non-significance, MDNS, was issued on July 24th, 2024. Staff finds the application to meet all requirements pertaining to plat alteration approval as per Ellensburg City Code Section 15.260.110C2. That concludes my report. Staff recommends council conduct the public hearing and approve the resolution of the plat alteration of Phase 2 Katy Meadows plat and authorize the mayor to sign the resolution incorporating recommended findings of fact, conclusions of law, decision, and conditions of approval. Thank you.
Sounds like my responsibility. Okay. The floor is open. Oh, excuse me. Does the applicant or applicant's representatives have a presentation or comments they would like to make at this time? I think somebody's online, correct?
Applicant's agent is here,
Okay. Awesome.
Milt Johnston.
Good evening. I'm Mel Johnson. I'm representing Tyler Glahn with Crytel. I think this is fairly self-explanatory. I have no further comments and I'm here to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.
So the floor is open to testimony from the public. Each person will have an opportunity to address council for an initial period not to exceed 5 minutes. If more time is needed, it will be made available after everyone has had an opportunity to speak. Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to speak? And nobody online. Does staff have anything to add? Indication is no. Does the applicant have anything to add? Indicated no. Are there any persons in the audience who would like to add non-repetitive information or evidence? Nope. Council, do you have any questions of the appellant, staff, or public? Before closing the public hearing, I wish to advise everyone present that the council reserves the right to reopen this hearing for additional testimony later tonight or at a continued hearing if needed. Public testimony portion of this hearing is now closed. Council may now begin its discussion and deliberation.
I'll move to adopt the resolution 2024-21 approving the plat alteration application for phase 2 of the Katy Meadows subdivision and incorporating the recommended findings of fact, conclusions of law, decision, and conditions of approval.
Seconded.
Okay, so we have a motion to adopt resolution 2021, which approves the plat for phase 2 Katy Meadows subdivision and incorporates the recommendations of finding and fact, conclusions of law, decision, and conditions of approval. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Two will vote aye, opposed. That motion passes. Thank you. Item 10A, page 138. This is a letter of intent for First and Pine Property Inversion Designed Build Affordable Housing Project, and there will be an opportunity for public comment.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Lily Fry, Housing and Grants Administrator. On June 17th, you heard brief presentations from applicants and directed staff to proceed with a letter of intent to award the First and Pine City surplus property to Inversion Design Build. Before you this evening is a letter representing the next step in the allocation process. It would authorize staff to begin preparing an affordable housing agreement with the applicants. We've included some of the basic requirements of all affordable housing agreements in the letter of intent. For example, the agreement would be based on the documentation and timeline in the submission. An income restriction at 80% AMI would be required per RCW 393315. City staff would work with Inversion to identify mutually agreeable milestones and reporting requirements specific to this project. This letter of intent would indicate the city's interest in trying to reach agreement terms no later than January 15th of 2025. A resulting agreement would come before you for consideration once negotiated. Inversion Design Build is also with us this evening if you have any questions for me or for them about this letter, proposal, or process.
Council, do you have any questions for staff or the applicant?
I might have one. And I understand this is an ongoing process. All the details haven't been worked out yet. But my understanding of the proposal is that the developer will stand the project up and the units will be sold, and then the developer will no longer have any involvement in the administration of the property, meaning the income eligibility components on an ongoing basis. Is that accurate? But I guess the second part of that is I assume that conditions will be put in place to ensure that without the applicant being involved.
So we, per the RCW requirements for surplus property contribution, we would need to maintain that affordability for a period of, I believe, 40 years, 50. Okay. Have to double check. I think it was 40 in the RR. Okay.
So I guess
yes.
sorry for the interruption. The core question is the applicant will be gone and the city, we're not going to be in the position of monitoring or screening applicants in the future to ensure conformance, I assume.
We would hope to establish an agreement that would not have us directly responsible for that, but instead receive reporting on a regular basis.
And that would be contained in the agreement that would be effective before January 15th. Correct. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions of staff or the applicant?
Yeah, one quick question just on the reporting. With the applicant gone after the project's been constructed, who does the reporting? Is it individuals that own, that they'll have a requirement to report to the city?
So this is a discussion that we've been having with the developer. I'm happy to turn it over to them to give you additional perspective on how they would like to see that proceed.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Lily. Council, I can quickly address a few of these questions for you. First off, we're in the beginning of the discussions of how this agreement's going to get put together. The first thing I need to say is, of course, we are going to listen to and honor any requirements that the city puts on this agreement. And so there is definitely room to make sure that whatever concerns you have are addressed in this process. It is true we plan to leave formal relationship with the site about a year after completion. The homeowners association that we would set up would be the kind of functioning entity for decision making on the site. And part of their charter would be to hire a third-party property management company who would be charged with all of the ongoing reporting requirements that are set in place. So we would have a professional organization contracted with the owners of the site to be able to do that reporting ongoing. So it wouldn't be us, it wouldn't be the owners, it would be a management company. And this is very common in the affordable housing industry, where you have third-party management companies that operate existing multifamily housing.
What's the term for that management company when you first sign them up?
What's like, how long would that be contracted for? Typical contracts we've seen have started at about 5 years, and they'll often auto renew unless there's some unforeseen circumstance that would require a change in the contract. But yeah, those are often longstanding relationships. We like to find well-vetted organizations to do that, and ideally keep them in that position.
In case after 5 years, there was an issue with the management company or something like that, what's the process in bringing in a new management company to continue the next 5 years or whatever that next term?
That process would be managed and overseen by the homeowners association, who would ultimately be charged with the decision-making of who to sign a contract with. That process typically would go, you'd put out a request for proposals. You'd have ideally 3 or more candidates respond to that. You would vet those and then make a decision from there.
So that cost is based upon that public bid that's for the management company for the next term.
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
it is, yep.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Nancy.
So this will be an HOA.
Yes.
How much additional cost is that going to put on the residents who buy and rent these facilities?
The rentals, it would be a pass-through cost. There would be no additional cost. I can't say exactly what the additional cost would be, but it would have to fall within our requirements for affordability. So we are highly motivated to make sure that those costs stay very minimal. We're also giving full control and decision-making ability to the future owners of the site. So if, a contract is too onerous or there's an issue, say they hire, for example, there's some landscaping that they hire someone to maintain, and they don't, like the job that was done, or they think it costs too much or something, they would have the power to be able to renegotiate that. And so it really is the owners on the site ultimately making those decisions after they've been set up.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm trying to remember from the presentation, so refresh my memory if I get this wrong. So we've got the stacked units, and we have owners, and then we have renters within different pieces.
That's what.
And so are both components subject to the affordability criteria the same way, meaning the owner versus the renter?
That's a great question. So I'll start by saying that hasn't been solidified. And so we're putting together what we think makes sense and is reasonable. And then we'll be discussing with the city how to detail that out in the actual agreement. The way that we're proposing it, they would be handled in slightly different ways. Rents and rental agreements are often an annual renewal in terms of income eligibility, and we would propose to follow similar standards here. Ownership, oftentimes, we look at examples like community land trust, I believe multiple habitat chapters are set up to work this way as well, where their affordability criteria really only come into play at a purchase and sale event. So we would be vetting the income eligibility for potential buyers as they're coming in. But then there would not be necessarily ongoing criteria that would need to be met.
Thank you. That's kind of where I was going. So this homeowners association effectively will not be governing the owned portion of the property, in the sense of the rules for the HOA would be limited to the rental portions, which are income based. Is that, I mean, once the sale is done, I mean, the second generation owner of the dwelling will not, as you're describing it, scenario would be not subject to any affordability criteria potential. I realize it's not settled.
No, not quite true. Our understanding is that the city wants this to be deed restricted for 40, 50 plus years. We're willing to work with either of those.
Yeah.
And so any new buyer that comes in, say an owner wants to sell their unit, the new buyer would also have to meet those income eligibility requirements. And so part of our agreement with a third-party management company would be to be in charge of that process and the reporting to the city about any potential new buyers meeting that income eligibility.
Okay, that was my understanding originally, but what you just said earlier sounded like maybe there was more flexibility on the second generation owner, but that's fine. That's kind of what we were.
I might add to that, there'd also have to be a covenant on all the owned units as well that would retain the affordability requirement.
Okay.
But if I buy it when my income's low and my lot in life improves, I don't get kicked out of my place that I've owned or I purchased.
Yes. But the sale would be restricted to income eligible.
But I can't, right.
Right. Okay, thank you.
So with regard to the property management entity, does the city have any say in that selection? And just if there's a dispute that they're not providing the required information, what is the city's recourse?
That all will have to get discussed in detail in the agreement, and I can't say we've gotten quite that far into the details, but yes, the city should and ought to have some form of recourse, and we just haven't gotten to that yet.
Typically, in this type of agreement, we would have some sort of control, so to speak, of the property management company selected. And then, we wouldn't be monitoring their performance other than their reporting requirements unless there were some complaints, I suppose. But otherwise, it's at the initial stage of selection or if a new company is being brought on board.
Did you have a question?
I do, just a little one. So does the city have any recourse if part of it goes wrong? Not just a word, a voice in the HOA, the management company, but if some of the property owners don't follow through with what they're supposed to do, and then there's 3 that do and 5 that don't, or, what kind of recourse does the city have?
Well, that's part of obviously what we'll be discussing during contract negotiations, but the idea would be that, yes, we would obviously have to build in some protections for the city so that if, one or more homeowners, property owners were not following the eligibility requirements for their renters, and somehow that wasn't caught by the property management company and it came to our attention, then yes, we would have recourse through various legal structures such as the covenant. We're actually sort of, that's one of the points we're looking at right now, dealing with a property management company instead of like the model we have with Habitat, which is different because they own the ground. And so we can have some different controls in place with them where we don't have to get necessarily involved in that ownership issue. They're responsible for that and they report to us. So we're exploring what is the best way to protect the city's interest with that right now. We haven't come to a conclusion on that. That's going to be probably, assuming this is approved, then that'll be part of our negotiations over the next weeks and
And
months.
I have just one question for you. And so I understand your project in Yakima is a different model, but do you have anything similar to what you were proposing here for Ellensburg and any success with it?
The short answer is yes. I'm trying to find a simple way to answer it without getting into all of the projects that we've done. We actually have one that's about 3 months ahead of this one, maybe 3 to 6 months in the city of Yakima. We are planning on breaking ground. This is actually in downtown Yakima, but it will be an ownership stack, very similar in terms of the ownership model to what we're proposing here in Ellensburg. The difference there is that's actually in the downtown central business district area. So the ground floors are going to be set up for retail spaces. So we've been working through some of these details with that project, and what we're bringing to the table in Ellensburg is benefiting from some of the details that we have there. That one's not up and operational yet. We're still working our way into construction. But we have a number of examples of, we've done several units with accessory dwelling units, but none of those have had ongoing deed restrictions. They've been temporary. They've been sort of slated for income qualification for the first owner. The ongoing reporting piece is the piece that will have to be negotiated here. So,
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody from the public who wishes to comment? Online? No? Okay, thank you. So council, they're asking for approval for my signature on the letter of intent.
So moved.
Second.
A motion second to authorize the mayor to sign the letter of intent for the First and Pine property with Inversion Design to build affordable housing project. Is there any discussion?
I guess I continue to believe that if our intent was in gifting this property to provide affordable housing, it doesn't make sense to me to approve a project that essentially is above market rate, above average market rate. So I'll vote no on it. And I think, I guess I would recommend that the city revisit our 80% AMI criteria if this is the result.
Any other comment? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
I too will vote aye. Opposed?
No, or no.
Okay, so that passes 5-2. You're gonna have to show me where I signed this letter because it's a little confusing and I'm foggy with cold medicine. Okay, item 12A is the manager's report.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor and Council. Heidi Barron, City Manager. And I just want to point out one item related to the last item, and that is the property that was surplused. There have been some questions about which property that is. It does not include the parking lot that is the overflow for the library and Hell Homes. And so that remains, that will remain city property. And so I think there's some confusion about the parameters of that property. So in your packet tonight, I just want to say congratulations to our wastewater treatment plant. One of probably the most critical services that our city provides, that a city provides, is wastewater treatment. And I say, if you want to kill a city, wipe out the wastewater treatment plant. And so we have some really excellent operators, and they receive this award regularly, and that's because they do a really great job. So we'll honor them in another way as well. So, and just a reminder, we will participate in the $200 utility bill credit program that will be rolling out during August and September. We'll provide you with some additional information, and people will see those as well as an explanation for that credit on their utility bills in the next couple of months. And not everyone, the priority is for lower income households as well. We have been working with a cold weather shelter action team. We have a meeting tomorrow morning. We have a short list, and it's not a great list of options for locations. We will be vetting that. We did receive actually 2 responses to the operating RFQ that we sent out. And one was non-responsive. It did not respond to the questions and the requirements. And so we will likely be recommending one of those to move forward. So we'll bring you an update probably at your next meeting for that. And then just a reminder, tomorrow night is National Night Out. So if you hadn't planned, stop by Veterans Memorial Park. And again, Tuesday, August 6th, they start at 6 p.m. serving. And so a whole bunch of folks are out there, and a really great night to celebrate with your emergency responders and public safety folks. And then I would like to invite council to our employee barbecue. We do an annual employee barbecue and just a staff appreciation. And you're welcome to join us for lunch on August 21st. And I'll send you an invite for that as well. Our community grant program is open. Applications are due at the end of August. And so we'll put that in the manager's report next time too, just to remind folks to get those in. That's again, the Parks Partnership grants. We actually have our Arts Commission grants open at the same time. Our water quality grant, the council funded grant program, and the historic preservation grant. So I think each of those programs have different amounts, and you can find an application and more information on our website. And that's all I have for this evening. I guess, wait, one more thing, and that is in your packet. You also have just a list, our handout for our low income programs for utilities. And we had a number of questions about those, so we included that in your packet. So that's all I have for this evening.
Thank you. Ms. Sarah.
Oh, I do not have much. All of my stuff is coming up this week. I do need to ask for an excuse absence on September 3rd, which I already know that Nancy has asked for. So I'm hoping that that is a doable thing because I already have plane tickets. So
We got a motion.
So, well, I'll make the motion or so moved. I don't know, I guess,
moved.
whichever's appropriate. So moved. Yes.
Seconded.
Motion second to approve an excused absence for September 3rd for Councilmember Sarah. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? There you go.
thank you. That's all. I don't have them.
Ms. Nancy, one.
I have a request for an excused absence for August 19th.
So moved.
Seconded.
Motion second for approved absence for August 19th for Nancy Goodlow. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Two will vote aye, opposed.
September 3rd.
And I have nothing else to report.
Nancy, two.
The Environmental Commission was canceled because of no quorum, and that's all I have.
Not because there's no environmental issues.
Not because.
David.
Great. Yes. Yes, exactly. Very light also, PTAC, a couple weeks ago. I've got a couple meetings this week. And I do not need to request an excused absence for a change.
Nothing new to report, as most of my meetings are also coming up at this time.
Same.
Okay. I am going to spread the wealth here. Sorry, it'll just make noise for a second. So on September 14th, forgetting their name, Rosewood is hosting the Manufactured Homeowners Association in their clubhouse, and they asked if an elected representative would come speak. I am flying to Hawaii that day, so there you go. So I won't be here.
Rosewood at what date and time?
September 14th, it starts at 10 o'clock. So if anybody's interested in that, I would be glad to get this. There's more coming, so you don't have to jump on this one. Then there's a barbecue lunch too.
That's a Saturday.
Okay.
I can do it.
Okay. Developmental disabilities, on the 13th, I am not available. Is anybody willing to go? It's at the courthouse at 5:30.
August or
The
September?
active group, August.
I can go since I'm familiar with it. Thanks.
And finally, we have behavioral court on August 8th at 1700 at the courthouse. And this one's really cool. And it's pretty cool to watch people graduate from this, but I have 3 other things going on right at the same time.
What time is that one?
5 o'clock. Room 109 it's in the Commissioner's Auditorium, but it's pretty cool.
August 8th.
Yes.
That's like
That's
this week.
a couple days.
Nobody has to be designated, but if you guys, if a couple people could go or somebody could go, that'd be really cool because it's a cool program.
I'm happy to go on August 8th.
Okay, so I gave away all those meetings. I attended, so a couple of things have happened in the last, and this is environmental to some extent. I spent most of the last 3 weeks on assignments at different fires, and Washington got on fire, and then we put a lot of it out. But we right now are hosting 9 out of region teams. I think the furthest one's from Florida. So the rest of the nation is helping us. So it's a good thing it's only the West Coast that's on fire. We're about 4 weeks early on our fire season for, sort of scale and scope. And so if nothing changes in the weather and we're supposed to get lightning on Thursday and Friday, it's going to get really busy for about 6 more weeks. I do appreciate that people are being careful because we're not having any accidental starts. We are seeing some intentional starts. And then some nature caused fires, including a fire in the Bickleton area where a bird literally dropped a fish on a power pole and it started a fire, 300-acre fire. And I have pictures of the fish that's fried. So at the base of the power pole where the fire started.
The bird have tartar sauce?
The fish did not have tartar sauce, but he started and then lastly, I went to a meeting up in Upper County, and obviously there are 3 primary utility providers, power companies in Kittitas County, and the city of Ellensburg is to some extent somewhat isolated from this. So, for our constituency directly, this is, a little bit indirect, but PSE has implemented the power shutoffs, preemptive power shutoffs. And it's a result of lawsuits in Northern California, billions and billions of dollars in lawsuits for the power companies. And I won't comment on how silly that is, but the power companies are simply preemptively shutting power off when they reach certain thresholds. And that's impactful. It affects our ability to get water. It can fry pumps for irrigation. When they restart the water, it can negatively affect people in their homes when it's 110 degrees outside. And so it creates impact as well as tries to solve a problem. And I get what the power companies are doing. PSC is doing it. And not all power outages are preemptive. Power goes out because birds are fighting back now, apparently. But I just need people to understand, sort of what's going on in the background. And if you care, raise your voice. If you're in the city of Ellensburg, again, we're somewhat insulated from that because that doesn't, directly affect us. But my guess is PUD, well, they were at the meeting, so PUD is looking at it as well. And they're doing it to reduce liability as well as start fires.
And I'll just comment, I asked that question, how it pertains to Ellensburg. Bonneville Power has a similar policy.
So the thing about the transmission lines is they tend to be very they do vegetation management, and there's relationships in Nevada where the power companies have basically partnered with the land management agencies, the state and the local fire departments. And they're putting, AI cameras up, detecting fires really early. They're doing fuels mitigation underneath their utility corridors, which insulates them from the effect of fires, but it also lessens the chance that they're going to be the cause of the fire. And then the mitigation people roll into suppression when it gets busy. And so it's a pretty cool model, and we're trying to get Nevada's model into Washington State. I'm not sure that's going to be successful with privately owned utilities, but we'll see what ends up happening. But again, we just very much appreciate it. We are out of resources. We're not sending people. We'll send them to neighboring counties, but we're not sending people across state except for the incident management teams. So, and it's because we can't get people here. So, and the system only works if everybody's participating. So I got pictures of pink houses from the DC-10s if you want to see houses getting saved. So anyway. That's all we got. So we are adjourned at 7:52. That's awesome.